The following is a special presentation of Green Sports Zone. This is the Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything out here atop Rebel Hill with the South Green Rebels football team. We'll recap this past week's 44-10 win over Johnson County in Mountain City and preview this week's in-county rivalry game with North Green. But as always, we need to get a quick word in from our sponsors first, so we'll be right back to discuss those two things here on First Horizon's Green Sports Zone.
The Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show, brought to you by Gary's Paint and Body Shop, the IHOP at Davy Crockett TA Travel Center, Ashley Drug Center, Gateway Ford Nissan, and by Tommy's Plumbing.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything atop Rebel Hill with the South Green Rebels football team. As always, I'm joined here with Rebels head coach Shawn Jones. It has been a long time since we've done one out here on Rebel Hill.
Yeah, it's always, I always enjoy getting outside. It's usually hot or cold, and we have to go in the classroom, but a great day out here, and so I'm glad you decided to come outside today.
Hey, it's a great day of practice too. Ended a little bit early just because of how well things were going. How well has the prep been this week?
Well, it's a rival game, and we've got things going on in school, and the kids have been really good. Players have coming up here and focusing in practice. We got homecoming going on, so I've had a really good week of practice. And like I said, I probably had 10 or 15 minutes more scripted to practice, but we was practicing well there, and they were playing hard, so we decided to end it and feel good about what we done this week.
Had to feel good after Friday night too. Let's jump into that before we talk about North Green a little bit more. 44-10 win over Johnson County. Things couldn't have gone almost any more perfect. You allow, I think, 2 big catches, 1 safety. Outside of that, almost a perfect game on defense, and then offensively things couldn't go any better with the rushing attack that you had and all the screen passes out of the backfield. So talk about how happy you were leaving Mountain City with a win.
It's always big to come out there with any win. Last time we was up there, we got a scoop and score with about a minute to go in the game, but it feels really good when you go up there and you feel like you dominate the game. And that's what we felt like we done. A couple blimps here. Noah Wright goes down with a shoulder injury. He's a long snapper or safety, and we had to move some people around. That's why they got the safety, because he wasn't long snapping, and had a couple other injuries, but we was able to overcome it. And that's what you got to do. School like us, you got to move people around, and the next person stepped up, and then that's what we did Friday night.
And like you mentioned it, you had a lot of people go down. Noah Wright goes down, Braxton Crittenden goes down. You have a few other injuries during the week of practice too that you kind of have to work around going into the game, and you still work around it too. How much does that say about the depth that you've been able to build so far here at South Green this year?
Well, that's always big. Nash, a lot of people don't know, he didn't practice at all last week. Come in on Monday, it was Labor Day, and I told him to go light, and we didn't wrap his leg, and told him to jog, and that's what he did, but his muscle behind his leg just popped up, big old knot, and he couldn't even walk. We went Wednesday, he got it dry needled, and went back Friday, so we didn't know going into Friday afternoon how he was going to be. The dry needle worked, and he was perfect. Went out there and played well, so he didn't even practice last week. But we feel now, he's coming after last week. He's coming along fine there. We feel he's real close to 100% if he's not 100%. So we feel like we may get him back on defense some this week. So he hasn't been there since probably in a month and a half. So we're excited. The way we overcame overcome injuries last Friday night. And that just speaks volumes for these kids. They've played hard all 3 games. We can't ask for to play any harder. Now that we got through the 6A, 5A, and 3A, now you get down there with teams that's closer to your size, and you hope that you can have even better results with that.
Terrific night from Nash, as you mentioned, and a terrific night from Tribnease. He had a trio of touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 receiving, dead even on 100 rushing yards for the day. What can you say about the game he had?
Well, we said the preseason that we're going to go with, of course, with our offensive line and those 2 guys. That's what our offense is based around. So, Nash had the big night. at Boone, Tripp the other night. So we ask a lot of those guys, and hopefully, if people try to figure out one, we got the other one, and that's what you hope for throughout the year. So really proud of the boys. It's always, like I said, it's always big to get a win at Johnson County. It's always a tough game for us. Just proud of the guys after coming away with that win.
Yeah, 12th straight win over Johnson County too. You lead the rivalry, or I guess it's not a rivalry, but you lead the all-time head-to-head series by a wide margin, and you don't do it without the players on the field, especially 29. But you got 10-3 into the end zone also. You got Trent Haynes, his first varsity touchdown, and then you got Charlie into the end zone also. So what can you say about Charlie Lane and Trent Haynes and how they played?
Well, Charlie, it was kind of interesting. The guy had the angle on him, and he outran him, and we're over on the sidelines kind of laughing about that. The guy had the angle, and Charlie just outrun him, so that was big by Charlie. And then Three's playing a lot as a freshman, and we knew his ability, and he wants to play, and that's a big thing too when you have a freshman that wants to play. So it's big to get him his first varsity touchdown. It was out there with the varsity. It wasn't like their JV and our JV. It was with the first bunch out there with our guys, and he's done a lot this year already. So very proud of those guys. Proud of the guys up front. It always starts with them when you rush for the yards you do. So proud of the guys up front. It starts with them, and we tell them they're the most important part of our team on offense.
We talked about the defense a little bit as a whole, and you had two players that were able to force some turnovers on the night also, and they were big turnovers. You had Angel Sanchez, who gets an interception in the end zone, and then Shawn Owenby gets an interception in the red zone close to the end zone in the first half when the game was still a game. And without both of those turnovers, if they do convert both of those passes, who knows what kind of game it would have been going into halftime and how things could have went in the second half. How big were those two interceptions from both boys?
Oh, it was huge. They kept them out of the end zone there. It would have been a big turn of events there, and a big momentum swing if they'd got in. So that was huge to get those interceptions, keep them out of the end zone. The safety, like I said, when Noah went down, Nash had snapped before, but that's his first time in over a year snapping. So that's how we got to safety. And then the couple pass plays, late in the game, they got down to the 3 and we held them out. So that was huge for the defense. And defense has been playing well all year. It really has. So it gave us every opportunity. We won 2 of the 3 games, gave us opportunity defense in the first game. So, very proud of that side of the ball. We just feel like we're just going to got to keep getting better and better. If we do that, we'll have a successful year.
Now you're done with the higher classified teams. You played 6A Morristown East to open up the season. You played 5A Daniel Boone and then 3A Johnson County. And you get to come back home now and play North Green, a team that you haven't had on the schedule for 3 years now, who was a lower classification, but nonetheless still a rivalry game. Still means a lot to both sides and will mean a lot to those boys that take the field on Friday night. But as always, before we talk about that, we need to get a word in from our sponsors first. So we'll be right back to talk about this Friday's clash between North Green and South Green here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Tommy's Plumbing has been in business for 30 years, and we're still growing because we treat our customers like family. We are proud to do any job from kitchen faucet installation to a complete home repipe. Tommy's Plumbing offers warranties on most products installed by our technicians. When the job is done, our friendly professionals make sure to clean up. We invite you to visit our new showroom in Jonesboro to see our quality products for yourself. Tommy's is the only one to call when you need a fast, reliable, professional plumber in the Tri-Cities.
At many dealerships, you get what you'd expect. Games, gimmicks, and shady sales tactics. At Gateway Nissan in Greenville, expect the unexpected. Low prices, convenient service, and a great buying experience.
Get our Gateway exclusive lifetime powertrain warranty.
No worries for life.
You deserve the unexpected. It's the #1 reason you gotta get to Gateway.
Shop online at gatewaynissangreenville.com.
Or take the super short drive down Highway 11E to Gateway Nissan in Greenville.
Win or lose, it's a family tradition. "24-hour hot breakfast, cold drinks, and a table big enough for the whole team, or just your team." IHOP at Davy Crockett Travel Centers. Breakfast that brings you back. Open 24/7 right off I-81, exit 36. Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything on Rebel Hill with the South Green Rebel football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Shawn Jones. So we'll actually be here at Rebel Hill on Friday night. Not only will the Rebels be here, but we'll be here also broadcasting this game as our First Horizon Green Sports Zone Bachman Bernard Game of the Week presented by Tommy's Plumbing. So if you can't make it out to Rebel Hill on Friday night, you can catch the game on the Green Sports Zone Facebook and YouTube, along with the Radio Greenville Facebook. And you can also hear the game on WSMG. So a lot of ways you can keep up with the game on Friday night if you can't make it out. But as always, if you can, make it out. Support South Green. If you're a North Green supporter and you're watching this, support the Huskies also. But when you take the field against the Huskies on Friday night, what can we expect?
Well, it's going to be a big night. North Green's, having a great year, had a great year last year, and I think we'll have a big crowd. It's homecoming. Back when we played, it's funny when I don't pay attention much to homecoming anymore. Back when I played, you always try to get a team you could beat, so you go to the dance, and we don't do that, anymore. And I know it's funny. I leave it up to my student council sponsors. They'll call me and say, "When's homecoming?" I was like, "You pick." And they try to pick what's good for them. So we really don't pay, and it's we really don't have teams we put out there. So we want to play them for homecoming. We just the way we do our schedule. So it just happened to be this week. So going to be a big night here. I think we'll have a big crowd. Like I say, it's a county game. We ain't played them in it's been 3 years since we played them. So it's going to be a big game Friday night, and we're excited to get North Green back on the schedule.
Much improved North Green team also from the last time you played them 3 years ago and on back all the way throughout the past decade. But let's talk about their team a little bit. Great offensively. They've been good defensively so far this year. They've got speed on offense. They've got size on defense. What do you expect when you take the field against them offensively and defensively on Friday night?
Well, offensively, they're going to throw many different formations at us. That's one thing, but we watch them on film. They do a great job, with what they do on offense. They do many different things. They've talked about how they can throw the ball and run the ball. If you stop one, you got to stop the other. Well, that's what we're planning on doing Friday night. We feel confident in what we got on the defensive side of the ball, but we expect a lot out of them. They're well coached. Now defensively, they're going to fly around with those athletes. So we got to get out there and take advantage, and hopefully we can find some mismatches. And we've looked on film this week, see if we can find those. So it's going to be a good hard-nosed game Friday night. And again, just glad to get them back on the schedule and see what happens with the county rival.
North Green's going to be hungry going into this game because a lot of people always talk about the streaks that are going against North Green. They broke one already, breaking the streak they had against West Green and the streak against county teams. So they've got one of those behind them, but of course the Chucky Doak South Green streak still remains, and they're going to come out here on Rebel Hill hungry. What is it going to have to take for you boys to come out and be extra motivated against them?
Well, we're just going to have to play what we've been coached to do. I mean, it's a non-conference game, so there should be no pressure there. But it is a community game, and that's what everybody wants to see. But I feel like if we do what we do, we'll be fine. That's what we got to do. Just come out and execute on both sides of the ball. Special teams, we feel like we're 0-3 in the special teams in 3 weeks, so that's going to be important for us. So we just got to come out and do our thing and see what happens on the scoreboard. They are going to be fired up. They're riding high. They're 2-1. They feel like they should be 3-0 just like us. So they're going to come in here feeling good about themselves, and that's kind of rivalry you want. We want people coming in here feeling good about their chances. So we'll just see what happens Friday night.
One question that I never ask is about special teams. I always ask about offense and I always ask about defense. rarely ever do I ask about special teams, but rarely ever do I know as much about a team's special teams as I do about North Green. They're riding high on a 3-game streak of special teams touchdowns. They've had a special teams touchdown in all 3 games so far this year. And like you mentioned, you haven't struggled a bit on special teams, but you feel like you should be better. So what's it going to take to be able to limit them to have those large gains on special teams?
Just got to limit their athletes making big plays, and we'll work on that. And we've worked on that this week, We've moved people around to different things. The other night, that necessarily wasn't a bad thing. Like I say, Nash hadn't snapped in over a year, so that was a bad snap.
That's a smart move by Brent too.
Brent kicked it out of the back of the end zone. So maybe take that away, but we feel like the rest of the night we feel like all right with what we had done. So we'll just see what happens. We don't want to kick it to their athletes, and they've played really well on special teams, and we're going to have to step up the game, and that's going to be a big key is who wins a special team game Friday night.
And as always, I feel like that's going to be one of these also. But as always, at the end of every interview, I ask what your 3 keys to the game are to carry out on Friday night in order to get a win. So when you take on North Green this Friday night on Rebel Hill, what are your 3 keys to the game?
The biggest one is special teams.
Yep.
We got to win that, and we got to have field position. We got to, we get to field position, we got to score when we get to the opportunity, and defense has just got to play lights out. And then if those 3 things happen, we'll be fine. All
right, Coach. Unless there's anything else you've got to add, we'll be back out here on Rebel Hill in just a few short nights.
All right.
All right. I got to mention Thursday night football. What'd you think?
Well, we were fine until we dropped 4 balls, so that's all I'm going to say. We didn't need Parsons, all right, but we dropped 4 footballs, so, and that's on CD, and he knows he's going to fix it. Saturday was a big win against ETSU. Got a big one coming up this weekend against Georgia. We got the Giants. The Cowboys got the Giants. Coach Wright is a big Giants fan here on the coaching staff, so that'll be big. So, like we said last week, we're going to have the 3 big wins, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and see what happens. So, very excited time of year.
Hey, started off bad on Thursday with a loss, but if you win 2 out of 3, that's a good weekend.
That's
and if the Rebels are one of them.
As long as we win 2 out of 3, we're excited.
Hey, if you go 1 and 2 and the Rebels win, that's all you need right there.
That's it.
Rebels looking to get a win on Friday night against North Green.
Thank you.
We'll be out here to cover that game again. If you can't make it out to Rebel Hill on Friday night, tune in to the Green Sports Zone Facebook and YouTube pages, along with the Radio Greenville Facebook page, and you can listen to the game on WSMG. Also, Brian Staten will be on the call with Coach Barry Carter, so if you can't make it out, tune into one of those 4 to listen to the game. But until Friday, that's all we've got for you right now. So thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Shawn Jones Show. Look forward to seeing you next time here on First Horizon's Green Sports Zone.